I love me a good mystery game. Finding out who done it, how they did it, and their reasons why is something I like to work out. So it was no surprise that one of the series I hold in the highest regard is the Ace Attorney series. Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane, is a game inspired by the series and has you playing as an attorney defending clients with a swords and sorcery setting as opposed to a more modern day setting. Though when saying that, Professor Layton vs Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney on the Nintendo 3DS also contains similar elements. The game is a mixture of a visual novel where you can interact with characters and scenes to gather evidence and testimonies that you will then present in court to prove your client's innocence. For context, there will be heavy spoilers of the first case, but all footage provided after that will be out of context and I will try and keep things spoiler free. Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane, is set in the fantasy kingdom of Wyvernguard. In this game, you play the title character Tyrion Cuthbert, a young man working as an attorney under his mentor Ruby Tymora. Both Tyrion and Ruby have grievances against the nobility of Wyvernguard as they believe the nobles have corrupted the justice system and can simply get away with just about anything, letting innocent commoners take the blame for their crimes. Ruby takes the fight against the nobles in court and has become a renowned defense attorney. The game begins with Ruby and Tyrion going to a small village in the kingdom so that Ruby can speak with Flintheart McCoy, a commoner who's going around organising rallies in his now closed tavern, speaking out against the nobility and the king. Upon reaching the village, Tyrion haggles with a local merchant and uses his unique ability, the Eye of Horus, to read the merchant's thoughts and mood, introducing us to one of the game's mechanics. Think of it as being similar to Apollo Justice's bracelet and Athena Sykes' mood matrix from the later Ace Attorney games. While Ruby and Flintheart discuss things privately at the tavern, Tyrion passes the time by playing chess against himself, a hobby of his. Tyrion shortly meets Flintheart's daughter Celeste, and they both play chess until Ruby and Flintheart's discussions end. As it's getting late, Flintheart invites Ruby and Tyrion to stay the night, and in the middle of the night, Tyrion overhears an argument between Flintheart and Celeste. Wanting to make sure Celeste is okay, Tyrion leaves the inn, passing Flintheart on the way, and finds Celeste outside. Upon returning to the inn, the kingdom's Arcane Inquisition are there and they arrest Celeste on the charge of murdering her father. Tyrion decides to represent Celeste in court to prove her innocence in his courtroom debut, and that's when your adventure begins. The game is split into 5 chapters, with each detailing a case that Tyrion works on, but little does he know of the forces behind the scenes setting things into motion. The game plays out much like the Ace Attorney games it's inspired by, and there are sections where you investigate scenes and talk to people, as well as courtroom battles, but is the game any good? Find out in The Good. I really like the approach and use of magic in this game and how it ties into the cases. Magic spells work similar to D&D spells in the sense that there are incantations and gestures, and some spells have limited distances as well as durations, and these play into how Tyrion will be defending his clients. A spell's properties can prove or disprove certain things, and mages in the kingdom generally have a spell compendium listing all the spells that they're able to cast and what they do. Spells are also separated into different classes and leave traces when used, which only remain for 48 hours. While investigating later in the game, Tyrion will have access to a detect magic spell courtesy of Celeste, which will tell him what class of magic any traces left behind are, but not the spell itself, and it's up to you to find out what spell was cast and why. The game's story and gameplay I feel are its strongest aspect. Each case has its relevance to the overall story, and I find the mysteries and how they're solved to be pretty well written with little room for error relating to plot holes. There's a lot of character development with both Tyrion and Celeste, and even with Arya Steelwind, the game's prosecutor and a member of one of the 4 noble pillar families of Wyvernguard. You can see where the inspirations from the Ace Attorney games have come from, but I feel that this game does a great effort of differentiating itself and having a great story in its own right. Without spoiling too much, the story really starts picking up in the final 2 cases, and some of the twists and turns really kept me involved and interested. As Tyrion examines scenes of interest, gathers evidence and talks to people, he can also build a psychological profile on some of them. This will benefit him later if he needs to argue or debate with a character for additional information, as the profile will guide you as to how characters think and what responses would work best on them. The game's court system plays very much like Ace Attorney, where witnesses are brought to the stand to give testimony and statements, and Tyrion needs to find contradictions during cross-examination. When a character is cornered, Tyrion will then get involved in an argument where his choice of evidence and words will whittle down the opponent's health bar to prove his case. Sometimes Tyrion will even use his Eye of Horus ability when he's cornered in order to get the information he needs. There are moments in the game where characters will summarise or try to work out what's going on, and you need to select the right words in a sequence. This is how a lot of the context and revelations throughout the game are revealed. The game I found was really good at throwing some red herrings out there too, so be careful since some things may not be as straightforward as they appear. I enjoyed the story and gameplay, and after finishing the game, it left me wanting more. I also really like the game's music, and I think Insane in the Rain Music, Shady Cicada and Stephen Charles did a superb job of composing the pieces played throughout the game and having them complement one another. The music and character themes fit perfectly, and the game's version of a cornered theme, titled Last Stand in the soundtrack, is my personal favourite from the game, so big props to Shady Cicada for that one. I also like how additional instruments are added in while Tyrion is summarising or deducing events to show how complete his train of thought is, and it's little things like that which really makes the game so good. However, it isn't perfect, so let's look at its faults in the bad. One of the gripes I have, which is pretty minor, is when you get given information about a character you haven't met yet and it gets added to your evidence, you can see who they are. It sort of spoils the reveal of that character when you actually meet them. Now, I won't spoil the scenes in particular, but in the third case, you learn about a criminal mastermind, and when you receive the clue, you also get to see exactly what they look like, which takes away some of that mystery. Is that person male or female? Is it even one person? Another instance is in the fourth case, where you're talking with Arya about testimonies, and you're given the testimony of a character you haven't met yet at that point, yet the evidence will show what that character looks like. Sure, you meet them later and they're a big part of that case, but I think that maybe hiding the identities of characters you haven't met yet would really add to the mystery. Again, also minor, and I don't know why you would do this, but you can play the cases in any order. I like to do things from start to finish and unlock the chapters as I go through, and since the cases relate to one another, and some of the characters appear in multiple cases, it might spoil the endings of some of the previous cases or reveal key elements from them if you play a later chapter first. Then again, I'm probably reaching here and there's not much else I really have to complain about, so let's wrap things up with the opinion. Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane, is an absolutely amazing game and a great Ace Attorney substitute I didn't even know I wanted. The game is a great love letter to the series, and I think it's done enough to stand up in its own right with its take on magic, its interesting and engaging story, and of course its music and visuals. The only gripes I have were minor at best, and even then I was reaching for faults. If you really like the Ace Attorney games, or even if you've never played one and enjoy solving mysteries with some courtroom drama, the game is definitely worth picking up and playing, and it's pretty accessible. I still think about the plot well after playing and beating the game, and I usually don't do this unless I've thoroughly enjoyed it, so well done Diamond Henge Entertainment, you've made an awesome game and I'm looking forward to seeing what else is in store in the future. So with that, it's time for my rating. I would give Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane, Tracker out of 10. A good game deserves a good doggo, or well, wolf in this case. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next Infinite Backlog review. If you enjoyed today's review, feel free to check out some of our other videos and subscribe for more. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram and our Facebook page. Once again, thank you for watching.